It's finally travel season. Are you ready for it? Where to go, what to pack, and how to get there. So in the past, I've covered how to get a visa same day, what is required to get into most countries in Southeast Asia, what you need to start teaching when you get here. Hell, I've even taught how to teach. And all of this while what to expect while you're living out here in Southeast Asia. Today, I want to talk about the trip itself, going from A to B. I got some travel hacks that are going to save you some time, money, stress, and just let you focus on the trip itself. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. And let's start with the most important one up front. How to get in and out of an airport with ease. Moving about the airport. Whenever you get to an airport on the weekends or on a busy time frame, have your driver drop you off at the arrival area instead. Then simply go inside and go upstairs. You're done. This can save you a ton of time because you're avoiding traffic getting there, and you can check in much faster because you're going past the entire crowd. And it's really that simple. Get dropped off at arrivals, go into the terminal of arrivals, go upstairs, and you'll be at departure. Go to the ticket booths, get your tickets. It's that easy. You're welcome. Flight preparation. Getting your boarding pass should be pretty easy. And if you don't have any check-in luggage, it'll be way easier on top of that. So before you get there, have all your documents available on your phone or printed out. But whatever you do, avoid having the battle with the airport Wi-Fi. And you might run into a worst case scenario where you have to go find a printer in the airport, have these documents printed off, and I've seen the fees being up to $5 a page. The next one is always have 2 passport size photos with you. You might not always need them, but just have them with you in case. And the reason for this is if you don't have a photo, they just surprise you, say, hey, we need your photo. And if you don't have one, and I've seen this a lot like Cambodia and Vietnam, where they'll just make it up because they know you don't have it. What'll happen is they'll take your photo with an iPhone, they'll go to the back, they might or might not print it because you usually won't see this picture. They'll charge you $5 or $10 US, and they can delay the whole process like 30 to 60 minutes easy. You're also going to run into where you're going to need immigration papers. Most of the time, you can find these forms on their website, print them out, fill them out, have them in your folder, wherever you're carrying all your documents, and you're good to go. Now, if you can't find the form or you just don't know if there is a form, places again like Cambodia don't actually have these on their website. You have to get them at the border. And in these situations, make sure you have 1 or 2 cheap pins with you at all times. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. And the reason for this is once you fill out that form, if there actually are no pins at this immigration spot, people will start asking to borrow your pin. It'll get passed around the whole entire place, and you're going to be sitting there waiting for this pin, and it just saved you no time at all. Let them borrow the pin, count it as a loss, and carry on, and save yourself a lot of time. Now, when you do get past all that, you have to go through security. Make sure you have all your stuff already packed into an external pocket of your backpack. And the reason for this is so you don't end up being that guy unpacking his entire life at the security checkpoint while everybody else has to wait. And with all my traveling over the last decade, I strongly recommend nomadic bags. They have a lot of quick access pockets, so you can put stuff into these bags, unload it on the fly, and not have to worry about it. Check the link below for a huge discount on it and just see kind of options they have. They are awesome bags. And the best part is they have quick release pockets, so you can remove laptops, tablets, paperwork from your bag immediately. And it's quick as hell. Even if you're trying to get a document out, it just comes out real quick. It's such a life changer when it comes to going through airports. And plus, the less time you're spending removing stuff from your pockets and your bags, the faster security will start pushing you through to get you on your way. As I go through different security checks in different countries, the faster I am, the less stuff that I have. Security typically pushes me through as fast as possible so they can deal with the guy behind me that's sitting there unpacking his entire life into a compartment box. And finally, if you do have any flight layovers, and you're just going to another airport, pretty much get off the plane, get your bag, go to the terminal where you're going to be. I recommend not sitting by the chairs right next to the terminal. The final 45 minutes before docking, people just like clutter in there and it just becomes a mess of people. Try to get a seat that's quite distant from the actual gate itself, but it still kind of faces it. And finally, try to get out of an airport. Try to book your taxi through an app like Grab or Uber, depending on where you are, instead of rushing the taxi at the airport directly. And also consider using local bus systems. They're way cheaper, and they'll get you usually into the main tourist parts of town already. And really, a lot of locals already do this at airports, so there's going to be a lot of people that'll be able to help you if you don't know where to go or where to get off. This is quite common in places like Thailand and Malaysia, where they have a train at the airport, which is super nice. Now, places like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and North Thailand, Just walk about 500 meters out. This will take you outside of the airport, and there you can get your taxi or flag down or have your Grab show up for you. This will save you a ton of money. So avoid all that stuff. Now, one final hack I want to share with you. This one's kind of shady, so you have to be careful with it, but hear me out on this because it does have a value to it. Now, like I said, I've done this in the past. Jumping on a shuttle that takes people to hotels that are already reserved. Hotels that are larger and are in the middle of a tourist area typically have some kind of a shuttle program where the shuttle will wait at an airport and pick up people that have reservations at these hotels. Now, a cool thing about this is a lot of these drivers, they're just waiting for people to say, hey, I'm going to the DoubleTree. Are you the guy to see? And they just tell you to get into their van, they put your bags in there, and you just take a seat. They're typically not waiting for people by name or reservation numbers. So it's not too hard to get into these. Now, do be careful on this, though. Don't just walk up to a guy and start lying, say, I'm in room 507 on the 5th floor and blah, blah, blah. So if they ask you for that kind of stuff, just say you don't have it or you're waiting or something like that. But definitely don't just start lying about it because it can lead to more drama than you really want to deal with. And again, I've only done this one time and I did it in Hanoi because I landed at like 2:30 a.m. The taxis were charging like literally 5 times the fee to take me like 3 kilometers. And there was a van there with like 5 people in it already going that way already. So I just like, yeah, I'm going to that hotel. Can I get on it? And when I got to the hotel, they gave me my bags and I stood outside like an idiot, played on my phone for 5 minutes and then walked off. And next, have about $100 of USD on you in small bills. Don't have a big $100 bill. This is a lot easier to work with in airports because most places, being kiosks, taxi drivers, etc., will accept US dollar if you don't have their own currency. And I know a lot of people, when they get to the airport, they try to like blow all that money as soon as possible. If you, again, you are avidly traveling all over and you might come back, just keep some of it. I typically keep between $50 to $100 of currency for every country that I'm at. So when I do get back to that country, I have enough to get a SIM card and get a taxi or something like that until I can get to an ATM and withdraw money in their currency and avoid all these fees. And really, this just saves you a ton of money. It allows you to get a SIM card. It allows you to get a taxi and just get out of there. It's so much cheaper this way. And personally, I have hundreds of dollars from different countries from all over Southeast Asia and parts of the Middle East. If you've been to Iraq or Bahrain, that I pull out anytime that I hit these airports. I just pull out a little bit of money. I got enough to get a SIM card and I can get my stuff. And then once I get to town, I can find an ATM and withdraw and get the most money in their currency with paying the less fees. Bring a little bit of money, get through the airport, get out, figure out your money when you get to the city. Currency exchange traps. I know we just kind of talked about this already, but it is important to kind of revisit. Try to avoid doing currency exchanges at an airport if possible. The only country that I've personally ever seen that does currency exchanges at airports, it doesn't rob you, is pretty much Thailand, where they do zero commission transactions. So if you bring your USD, they'll switch it over to their currency. No fee, no cost. You pretty much get a direct translation of money. The rest of Southeast Asia, including Malaysia, it's more about who's going to F you over the least when you're trying to exchange money. So carry a bunch of money with you from different countries when you get there so you can save yourself a whole bunch of hassle, fees, charges, just a headache you don't want to deal with. Duty shops and why you should avoid them. Personally, as somebody that doesn't drink, smoke, or eat sugar, I find these shops pretty much a waste of space because that's kind of all they sell: liquor, cigarettes, and candy. So if you can, try to avoid these unless you really need to get that overpriced bottle of liquor or you need to smoke like right now. You just can't wait. And the main reason is because these prices are wildly overcharged. And yeah, you don't pay tax. Great. But the cost of a lot of this stuff could be near 50% double the cost that it would be if you just bought it out in town. And I do get it. I mean, you get to bring this stuff onto the plane. But for up to 50% markup, is it really worth it? Buy it in town for way cheaper. Throw it in your suitcase and just mark it as a check on luggage. I mean, it's that simple. It'll cost you a few extra bucks, but overall, it'll probably be a lot cheaper, especially if you're buying a bunch of alcohol and cigarettes. Also, if you get hungry while you're at airports or on flights, bring some snacks. What could cost 50 cents at a 7-Eleven at an airport can be like $4 to $10. Even for like a bag of chips, it's ridiculous. And if you have an empty water bottle, bring it with you. As long as it's empty, you can take it past security at any airport in Asia that I have went through. They've allowed this. There's typically a spot where you can fill up water. A lot of airports are starting to go green, so finding refill water areas within airports is starting to become very common. International flights typically are fairly long, and they'll have layovers that can be as long as 10 hours long. So with that being said, make sure you have an extra battery pack. I know a lot of airports will have little charging stations, but the problem I've noticed, especially when I fly to Asia, are people will camp these stations, leave things plugged in even though they're charged, and it's almost impossible to get into them. And even if you ask them, they'll start yelling at you in a different language, or they just upfront ignore you. Make sure you have like a little charging bank aside with you that you can charge while you're on a flight or something. Entertainment's on the flight. Download movies, music, videos, eBooks, anything that you need to keep you entertained while you're on a flight, because airline Wi-Fi is complete trash. Services like YouTube Premium, for example, they allow you to download videos, TV shows, music, all unlimited onto your device as long as you have the premium service. And this will save you a lot of money from having to pay for the Wi-Fi service on a flight, because like I said, it is really trash service. Wi-Fi on an airplane is really expensive. It can range between $20 to $40 to use Wi-Fi during that flight, and they even limit that. And you have everybody on the flight usually paying for it. And while we're talking about flights, if noise bothers you, be ready. Flights going to Asia tend to be a lot louder than flights you'll find in a Western country going to another Western country. Kids are running around, not really being controlled. People are yelling, they're playing on their phones. Nobody's using headphones. And really, if you enjoy TikTok and Instagram videos nonstop, you're in luck, because that's all you're really gonna hear. However, if you're not into that stuff, bring some noise cancellation headphones and save yourself the stress and time, because you will not be able to avoid this. And even though the airlines typically will give headphones out to people to use when they're noisy like this, most won't even wear them anyways, especially little kids. But for me personally, I just use my AirPod 3s and I turn them a little louder than normal. Everything's fine. I hear nothing. And plus, if you're watching movies or stuff like that on your phone or iPad, you want to be able to hear it correctly without annoying everybody, right? Somebody's got to be sensible here. Now, while you are on the airplane, I strongly suggest getting a window seat for these long flights. It is not for the view. This is for the peace of mind to be able to sleep while you're on a long flight that could last 10 to 15 hours. And the reason for this, if you are in the middle or if you're on an aisle seat, which in itself is annoying because people will constantly bump you, the cart will hit you all the time, and nobody cares. On these flights, people for some reason, on flights going to Asia, have to get up every 5 or 10 minutes to go to the bathroom. Nobody really stays still on these flights. So if you do have the ability to pick a seat on these flights that you're getting on that are international, the long flights, get a window seat. It will save you so much time, stress. And if you do have to go to the bathroom, they just move because it's normal, but you're at least not getting up every 15, 20 minutes because everybody else in your aisle needs to move. Multi-purpose packing. I have covered this subject so many times, it's ridiculous, but it is worth talking about, so I'll keep it short though. And the first thing we just talked about at the beginning of this video, if you can avoid check-in luggage, you will save yourself a ton of time and stress dealing with a whole bunch of stuff. Plus, you'll save a lot of money because they typically charge you for your first bag now. I strongly suggest having a compact style bag that lets you pack a whole lot more into a bag without having to sacrifice a whole bunch of stuff. And this also includes having compartments just for your wires, compression bags just for your clothes, and stuff like that. Earlier we talked about the Nomadic bag. They do an awesome job for doing Nomad style bags. Check the link below. The bag I use is the Nomad Traveler bag, and a cool thing about it is it's 30 liters, but it compresses down to 20 liters. 20 liters is required to get on pretty much 95% of airplanes when you're traveling. So when I bring my Nomadic, I crook it down to 20 liters, and I've been able to bring it on every flight that I've ever traveled on, which is an awesome thing, saves a ton of money, and I get in and off the plane real fast. Make sure you're packing wisely. There's no need to pack a camera when you have an iPhone that shoots 4K already. Unless you're a photographer, there's no real reason for this. And also try to make compliance with your wires that you're packing with you. So for example, everything I have, cameras, batteries, chargers, power banks, everything is all USB-C minus my iPhone that requires that special stupid cable. I don't have to carry around 10 or 15 different style wires. I just carry USB-C wires and everything works. And a very obvious one, don't pack things that have no value for your trip. Things like trinkets or like toiletries that you can pretty much buy anywhere in the world with you. Buy it when you get to the country. And this also includes clothes. Just pack the basics for where you're going and buy the rest when you get here. It is way cheaper to buy clothes. Make sure you're packing for this season. I see so many backpackers come out here with raincoats and yada 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 and sweaters and all this stuff. And they're coming out here to like Cambodia where it's always like 34 degrees every day. Pack for the season that you're coming to. If it's going to be hot out here, pack for the hot. If it's freezing, pack for the freezing. Even if you're going to stay long term, you could buy winter clothes when winter comes and buy them out here. It'll be way cheaper. I will tell you personally, with all the packing I do in my nomadic bag, the thing that takes the most space are my clothes. And as we wrap this up, it's not just about the destination, but it's also about how you get there. Long-term traveling is about being smart. It's about being efficient. And most of all, it's about being prepared. So the next time you're going to pack up, you're going to hit a long trip, being short or long, domestic or international. Remember these tips so you can get in and out of airports and be the most efficient one there. So you're not wasting your time and going through these mindless, stressful points that a lot of travelers go through day to day. For me personally, I've been using these for the last decade. They work wonders. I am the fastest guy through the airports, and there's a reason for it. Either way, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. I will see you again.